Hi, this is Rick Adams, CEO and founder of Practical CSM and the Success Hub, and welcome to the second of two 2021-2022 Christmas and New Year podcast specials. Now, last week, I interviewed Guy Napaz, CEO and founder at Tatango, about his predictions for the customer success profession in 2022. And this week, it's the turn of Nick Mehta, CEO of Gainsight. Nick describes himself as a wannabe Pittsburgh Steelers football player who plays a day job as a leader of technology companies. His main specialties include building and managing strong teams with an authentic culture and that are aligned to the corporate vision and mission, and creating, launching, and managing great products that are based directly on meeting real-world requirements that deliver fantastic end-user experiences. Nick has led Gainsight as its CEO for just under 14 years now, during which time he has seen it grow from a fairly small startup to becoming the world's largest CS software provider with just under 1,000 employees. And Nick, still seeing 50% year-on-year growth? Fantastic achievement.
We don't share our growth numbers, but still definitely growing very fast. So yeah.
Cool.
And by the way, not 9 years doing Gainsight. So the 14, I still want to be able to get another 5 years in before I can claim 14. So 9 years.
My apologies. Okay, no 9 years. Thank you for correcting me there. Just to finish off my spiel, and if this is wrong, do correct me as well. But in addition to his leadership position at Gainsight, Nick is also co-author of Customer Success, his cunningly titled book on customer success management best practice that was first published in 2016 and which I believe has now sold over 50,000 copies worldwide. So congratulations on that accomplishment as well. And we could go on about all of Nick's other accomplishments, but if we were to list them all, we'd have no time left for our conversation. So let me stop now and say formally, welcome, Nick. It's great to have you here again.
Thank you so much, Rick. And thanks for all you do for the community. Great to be here.
Oh, not at all. And very much likewise. You know, I see very much Gainsight as being one of the key players in building and developing the customer success industry, without a doubt. And you may recall, actually, in fact, I know you did because we were just chatting about this just before we hit the record button, that you talked to me around about July time, I think it was last year, on your thoughts on customer success as a post-COVID-19 priority. And I think it's fair to say, yeah, that the intervening year and a half since then has proven you to be very much right in what you were saying there. And in particular, just to refresh your memory and mine and everybody else's, you talked about the relevance of customer success, not just to SaaS companies, but actually to all organizations, and particularly, of course, those with any shape or form of a recurring revenues model. You also talked about the need for a close relationship between customer success and customer experience, and of the growing desire and need from the executives in the boardroom for customer success to feed into and enhance the strategic corporate vision.
Awesome. There you go. Those sound pretty good.
Well, right. I think so too. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about those. I mean, before we start polishing up the crystal ball and looking into the future, maybe we should just spend a moment or two on 2021. I mean, for you, what were some of the highlights of 2021, or what were some of the lessons that you think that we have absorbed and that we've learned from? What has the world shown us over the last 12 months or so?
Well, 2021, I think, showed, probably tied to COVID, but also tied to just SaaS in general. What's happened is customer success is no longer a question of why or what. It's just a question of how. Like when you talk to CEOs now, they're not trying to figure out, oh, do I need to think about customer success? Should I invest in it? They're not all doing it right. That's why the how matters a lot. That's why what you do matters so much, is helping people understand how to do it well and how to scale it and things like that. So the biggest thing is we are past the point of trying to prove the value of customer success and the need for it. That. Frankly, if you're in the 1% of companies that are still asking that question, you're probably the wrong company. We're way past that. People know it's an existential part of the SaaS business model. And to your point, Rick, it's also a part of a lot of other business models as business models try to converge to being more software-like, right? Everyone wants more of a digital business. If you want to be a digital business, you've got to do customer success. So I think that's the biggest thing that's happened, is it's not a question of whether you should do it. And that showed up even in our business. We've never had a better year in our company's history. And, obviously would love to say that so much of that's because of our great work and execution. I'm sure some of it is, but a lot of it is just that CS has gone mainstream. It really has.
I think so too. I think you're quite right, and I think that there's evidence for that, as you say. I mean, evidence in the fact that customer success organisations like mine and yours are doing very well indeed, which is great. As you say, hopefully we're getting things right, but also it's a growing market. So even if we're only reasonable, we should be doing okay. But I think also we're seeing articles about an interview of customer success, turning up outside of the customer success industry. There's discussion about it in Forbes magazine or in Harvard Business Review. Or, do you know what I mean? That I seeing it being mainstream in that sense as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's showing up in so many different places. It's, such an in-demand job. Bain had a study recently that it was the most in-demand job in technology right now is customer success management. You see it, I'm sure, when you talk to people, just the amount of job opportunities out there, the number of employers like begging for CSMs. I just literally this morning was talking to a head of CS at a public company, and he was saying the hardest thing is just hiring people and finding people, right? So it's just become something that, all of a sudden every company wants to get right.
Absolutely. No, I think you're quite right. So aside then from the growth that we've seen, is there anything else in terms of what's happened over 2021 that is a lesson for us to think about and pontificate on, or think about the value of from a customer success perspective, particularly?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one thing that started in 2021 and is going to be a big theme in 2022 is this idea that customer success and companies in general now have a North Star metric, which is net revenue retention, NRR, right? And this idea that it's not just about churn and losing customers. It's also, can I grow the customers that I have by getting them to buy more products and more services and so on, right? Net revenue retention basically looks at how much your customers as a group are spending in the beginning of a period, and just looking at those customers, but not adding new ones. How much are they spending at the end of a period? Is that calculation 110%? Is it 90%? Is it 200%? What happened this past year is in Wall Street and publicly traded companies, they figured out that this is one of the top metrics investors look at, right? And actually there's a big correlation between the valuation of your company and net revenue retention.
Right.
And what I've seen, we started talking about this at the beginning of this year, not just us, by the way, other people as well. Yeah. And in the beginning of this year, we said, hey, we think this is going to become the North Star metric for customer success. And it absolutely is. Like, I've got so many CS leaders that are reaching out to me saying, hey, I want to put net revenue retention in my comp plan for next year. I want to figure out how to measure my team on it. And it's not just CS leaders. So people realize net revenue retention isn't just about the CSM team. It's about customer success as a company-wide thing. It's about how you build a product, how you onboard people, how you sell. And so it's really bringing the company together around the customer success.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, customer success can only do its part in that. You can't, customer success is not responsible for a great product, right?
No.
Product is responsible for a great product.
They sometimes get held responsible by the customer when the product doesn't work, but that's the tough life of customer success.
But it takes a team. It takes everybody, including the people making the sandwiches. I mean, everyone is involved in the success of the business from the ground up and from left to right and top to bottom, as it were. So I couldn't agree with you more in that sense. I absolutely 100% agree with that. And let's face it. Whatever isn't functioning, that's the bottleneck, which may or may not be customer success, right? I mean, that's just irrelevant in a sense. You've got to find what that bottleneck is as a business person, and that's your challenge, right? How do we improve on this aspect of it? But I think you're absolutely dead right to point out about net revenue retention. I've also seen a lot of discussion around that, and I think that's almost like an inevitable maturing, perhaps moving from did we or didn't we renew to yes, but at what level did we renew?
That's right.
So it's getting more granular and more detailed about how you renew with your customers. Great, we've won their business back, but have we increased the value of that business? And I think that makes sense.
In a competitive market, one of the things I think I've seen, and I think a lot of people have seen, is if you're not increasing the amount that your customer is doing with you, both in terms of adoption, but also in spending and products, then over time you're on a path to churn. Because customers want to do more with fewer vendors. And so either you're the vendor that has positive NRR and they're doing more with you, or you're the vendor that is very tactical and one day they're just going to replace you with somebody else, right? So
I would go along with that, Nick. In fact, you could, in a sense, you could say, well, either you're helping them to grow or you're not a successful supplier. I mean, that's a little bit harsh.
That's it. Yeah.
But effectively, if you are helping them to grow, well, then they should be be increasing the amount of which they're purchasing your product because they are growing.
Exactly.
So it kind of feeds into that, doesn't it?
Nailed it.
I just wondered what just sort of thinking about what you said about NRR in 2021, and I love the I can't think of the, it's gone out of my head now, the total revenue, customer revenue, over the entire lifetime value, customer lifetime value.
Yep.
Now, I really, I mean, obviously, this is a metric that takes a lot longer to really understand. It's not what you'd call a leading metric here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I wonder what your thoughts are, because NRR is saying, okay, so what have we sold them this time?
Totally.
Right. But customer lifetime value is saying, how have we enhanced the value of a customer to us over the entire period of the relationship with the customer?
Yeah.
And I wonder whether you think that is something that we'll see coming in more and more as well, because it's something that I'm focusing on quite a bit.
100%. So when you think about it mathematically, net retention and customer lifetime value are very correlated with each other, right? So the higher your net retention, the higher your lifetime value. Lifetime value looks at the total over time, kind of discounted for present value of cash flow. Net retention looks at it in a given year snapshot. They're exactly related to each other. Now, as you said, net retention is a little harder to know what it's going to be in the future, because you have to sort of understand, okay, year 1, year 2, year 3, it's a little bit of guesstimation. NRR, you know exactly what it was, right? So I do think that these two things are very correlated together. And a lot of times investors will look at lifetime value divided by acquisition cost. They call it CAC to LTV, if you want to be really nerdy. And CAC to LTV, customer acquisition cost to LTV, which is basically saying, okay, if I'm spending $1 to get a new customer, how much are they giving me over time? You know, if I'm spending $1 and they're only giving me $1 over time, well, good luck. You're not a very good business. If I'm spending $1 and they're giving me $10 over time, I could spend $2 and still make money, right?
That could be interesting.
$1, they're giving me $2. That's not very good. And so a lot of people will say, look at that CAC to LTV to say, should we spend more money on sales and marketing because we're under investing, or do we have a problem we need to fix the LTV? And by the way, as you know very well, Rick, when somebody has a lower LTV or in a bad CAC to LTV, often what's happening is you got a leaky bucket in customers, right?
Well, right.
Getting all these customers and losing them in year 2, year 3, whatever, right?
And this is what I particularly like about LTV as opposed just to NRR. I think both together are really powerful. But what I like particularly about LTV is the concept of, it's asking almost like two questions. First of all is, by how much are you increasing the average sale to your customer?
That's right.
It's also asking, yes, but how long are you keeping them for?
Yes, exactly.
Which is the other side of things. That is also, and again, you know, it is also from the customer's perspective, you won't keep customers unless you are delivering value to them, right? Continually. So are you able to keep on top? You might be on top now, you might be flavor of the month. For how long can you retain that position as providing a product that is the best product for the customer?
Nailed it. You got it. Exactly right.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Great. Okay. So here we are, end of 2021, beginning of 2022. What do you think is in store for us in the customer success profession in 2022, Nick? And what advice do you have for CS professionals, perhaps of all levels, from VPs through to the most junior of contributors who are just starting out? What should people expect from, and how should they approach the year that lies ahead of them?
We need this crystal ball here, though. Where is it? Do we have one?
Well, I'm struggling. I think there's so much up in the air at the moment myself. So
a lot up in the air. I'll give you kind of a few that I would say are like no-brainer predictions, because they're almost building off of what's already happening, right? So let's assume NR continues to be the north. So that doesn't even have to be a prediction. That's just true, right? Within that, there's a few things that are no-brainers. Number one is companies right now are scaling so fast because of the whole digitization of the economy that scaling customer success through digital technology is absolutely like the mega trend. Like if you talk to any CS leader out there, the biggest challenge they have is my business, besides hiring is the biggest challenge, but besides that is my business is growing a lot and I can't just keep throwing people at it. In fact, I can't hire them. I can't find them, but also even if I could, I can't economically just throw people at it. I need to scale through, digital first journeys, in product communications, automated emails, using data, So that digital first is absolutely going to be mainstream. It already is on the way there.
Yes.
Okay. Number two, this in businesses where you're selling a product that has some kind of economic benefit, which most products claim to, right? There's a big shift in customer success to really focus on value. So not just is a customer adopting it, but what's the value they're getting, and connecting the value that you're pitching in the sales process to the value you're delivering, such that you're in an executive business review and you're not just talking about support tickets or even adoption. We're actually talking about the business value that's been achieved, the outcomes that you've helped achieve. So this idea of focus of value, I hosted a dinner last week in Palo Alto, and we had 15 CS executives there. And I asked them what their focus for next year was, and it was value, just getting value into the CS process. So I talked about digital CS, talked about value, those two kind of very, I'd call them very mainstream things that are happening. Yes. A third mainstream one is CS operations. You can't do digital CS, you can't do customer journeys without having operations teams. It's people to actually take your great ideas, put them into practice, measure how you're doing, automate, scale. We're actually publishing a study in January. I'll give you a little preview. We did a big survey of CS teams, and 60% already have operations teams focused on CS. Okay. Not just like a sales operations team that helps you if you give them a bottle of wine or something, but an actual CS operations team. So if you're in the 40%, you got to get your operations team, and you will. Yeah. And if you're in the 60, you got to make sure they're doing the right things. You're investing in them, enabling them. So those three, I'll call them mainstream: digital CS, focus on value, and operations. No brainer. And I'm going to give you three kind of what I call more emerging predictions.
Okay, thank you.
We've talked a lot about CS and product working together. You mentioned, Rick, like, what can a CS person do if the product isn't doing the right things, or isn't have the right functionality, or is buggy? And so we're seeing a lot more leaning in of product people working with CS people to better get feedback and roadmap requirements.
Yeah, it's an important relationship.
Experience of like releasing new features, improve the user experience, improve onboarding. There's no reason why product and CS shouldn't be, best friends. Frankly, they both want the customer to adopt the product, to get value. But for a long time, they were speaking different languages, and they're coming together.
Right, that's right. And really, customer success, product should be looking at customer success as a wonderful opportunity.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Like, and by the way, we've really done this in our own company between our product and CS team.
Right.
And initially there was a great culture, but initially they didn't see eye to eye.
Yes.
And now we've got this incredible like alignment on how do we do releases that really drive adoption and get great experiences? How do we onboard new users really well? Like all that stuff, everyone has the same goal. So product and CS together. Number two, I've been doing CS, customer success, almost 9 years, right? And AI has been something people talked about forever, right? Oh, yes. AI is going to help us all customer success. Yes. The reality is very little AI has happened in CS to date, but it's finally going to happen because the data is there now. People have a lot more telemetry. Yes. They understand net retention. They have a goal. And so some of the innovative companies are going to be leveraging AI in customer success. And we actually announced some stuff around this in terms of Gainsight roadmap. The third thing is that we're seeing a lot, and I think this is probably the furthest out, so the most kind of forward leaning, is, I've talked about product, I've talked about CS, I've talked about sales, but I'm missing a group. We're missing a group. What about marketing? What's the role of marketing? Marketing historically in a lot of companies was very focused on net new leads, right? Getting
external marketing.
External, yeah. How do I actually bring marketing's amazing skill set to bear to help improve net revenue retention, right? In terms of how do I drive adoption through marketing? How do I drive advocacy through marketing? How do I have expansion through marketing? So I'm seeing some of the leading edge CMOs saying, you know what, I'm going to keep driving new leads for the company, but I actually want to figure out how I can help customer success. I would say this is the furthest out trend. It's a more emerging 10, 20% of companies, not 50%. But something to think about if you're working with your marketing team, how can you build a better relationship in 2022?
Well, right, yeah, and that's great because it's nice to hear that the marketing teams, the chief marketing officers and others are understanding it is a different message to existing customers. They don't need the same. They've already gone through the risk decision.
Exactly.
Is this our type of company? Is this the type of organization I want to do business with? Patently, it must be because we've already decided that, and we're working with them now. So now they're incumbent. What else can they offer us, and how can we maximize our value from an incumbent relationship? That's a different message and a story to be telling customers, and it needs the marketing experts to tell that story, right?
And it's so good. It's one of the things you said I want to click into, which is it is a different message, and it's a different type of message because when it's a customer, they know you. So you honestly
know you. Exactly.
You have to be authentic. It can't be this, oh, everything's perfect. We have all, shiny object. It's all they know the company, they know your
that's very true.
They know your warts too. So it's got to be very authentic, very practical, very use case oriented. And so that's where what's really cool is the CS team knows the reality, the authentic, the gritty detail of what it's like. And the marketing team has the polish, has the communication skills, the storytelling. It's going to be a great partnership together. So again, this will probably go mainstream in like 2023, but in 2022, good chance for people to innovate around marketing and CS.
Well, that's wonderful. We've covered such a lot of ground here. We've only got a couple of minutes left, but it feels like it's flown past the time already. But just thinking about maybe the more junior contributors, the people, as you've said, customer success is growing. More people are coming into customer success as a profession. I wonder just finally if you had any thoughts for people who are either thinking about joining or right now are actually in the process of transitioning into their first customer success role. Any thoughts for those people?
Absolutely. So if you're thinking about joining, this is an amazing profession. I'm very biased for sure, but it's also just like the demand is off the chart. So it's always nice to be in a place where people want you. And I think it's hard sometimes to break in. So one thing that I think you could look for is more and more companies are starting to create jobs that are kind of on-ramps into customer success. For example, they might call it a customer success associate. We have that at Gainsight. Other companies do. So kind of there's ways that you can find places to kind of break in. And then if you're in CS, I think one of the big things, opportunities for all of us in CS is to really figure out the part of CS we're going to be great at. Because as you know, Rick, if you define all of CS, it's like, well, I gotta be great at the commercial and the relationship and the product.
Very broad and very deep. Yeah.
And very hard to be that unicorn kind of CSM. So one of the things I think it's important is how do I actually turn into somebody who's great at one of those areas? So are you going to be the CSM that's great at the technology, the CSM that's great at the domain, great at the best practices, the consulting? Figure out a way to specialize a little bit.
Be the specialist, be the go-to person.
Be the go-to. Don't be the email forwarder that like you can't solve any problem, but you get to forward it to somebody who can help you, right? Be the person that is really great at one thing. That would be my advice.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much indeed. I guess for many people it has been a tough year, health-wise and fear-wise, and awkwardness around running kids here, there, and the other, or having them at home and working from home, and all of that stuff that we're all going through. Plus, also an exciting year. Customer success very much growing massively throughout 2021, right from the get-go. Hopefully, let's see that continue on into the future of 2022. Let's see it redouble and redouble and redouble. I think the world needs customer success. It makes total sense, right? Why do you want a product? You don't want a product. You want an outcome. You want a result. You don't want the thing. You want the thing that the thing does for you. We can help you. So, on that very positive note, I guess I'd like to say, and I'm sure you'd agree with me, we want to wish everybody, above all, a safe and healthy 2022, but also an enjoyable and prosperous one as well. So from me, Nick, thank you so much for your time today. I wish you a fantastic 2022 and everybody at Gainsight as well. And for everybody listening or watching, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
Final
Rick.
Thoughts from you, Nick.
No, thanks so much, Rick. You said, I can't say it any better than you said it. So happy holidays to everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care now. Thank you, Nick. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Rick. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.